Hello my bookish lovelies, Kira here, and today I don't do a ton of readathons, just mainly because I am such a mood reader, but there has been a lot of books lately that I have been in the mood to read, and so I decided to participate in the Magical Readathon, which is me taking my owls in the month of April. Every April, like usually even in Harry Potter world, because this is a Harry Potter geared readathon, you typically sit down for your owls in the month of April. So that is what I'm going to be doing. This is my first year participating. I have seen this readathon all over the place, and I am so excited because this is the first time I will get the opportunity to participate and actually be participating in a timely manner. So I'm really excited for this. There are 12 different prompts that you can actually gear towards this. This readathon is by Book Roast. I will leave her channel down in the description below. I will also leave the website, so if you want a full kind of explanation on how this works, because later on in the year they will also be having the newts, and there's also a total book that you can pick your careers from after you sit for the owls. I am a very indecisive person. Since this is my first year participating, I have no idea what profession I want to go into. So I kind of just decided that I was going to read all the prompts, one book for all the prompts. I'm just going to go ahead and get into what each one of those prompts is. So the first prompt is Ancient Ruins. And for this year, it's going to be the Heart Ruin. You either have to read a book with heart in the title or have to read a book with heart on the cover. So I actually decided to pick a book that has been on my TBR. It is one of the oldest books on my TBR. I bought it almost pretty much at the beginning of the time that I actually started watching BookTube, and I just didn't get around to it. So I figured, I was just like, you know what, this is probably the best time to do that. So it is The Sky is Everywhere by Jandy Nelson. This book is basically I think this deals a lot with loss. And if I remember right, I think there might be a love triangle in here somewhere too. I'm not sure. I know Jandy Nelson, this isn't one of her, I think this was an earlier book of hers, and I don't think it's as well known, but it's still a book that I'm kind of been really still interested in, even after all this time, even after how long I've had this on my TBR. I'm just really excited to be finally able to get to it, and there's a giant heart on this cover. Okay, and the next book is Arithmancy, which is Magical Qualities of Numbers 2. So it's balanced, you're kind of balancing the opposites. Read something outside your favorite genre. So this was kind of a hard thing for me. I really don't have a genre I dislike. I don't really have a genre that I don't read. I don't really have a genre that I shy away from. Now, I did a video towards the beginning of the year. It's all the books, like my main standalone books that I really wanted to get to in the year 2020. So I decided that I haven't been reading enough from that list. So I figured that this would balance out my TBR a little bit, trying to get to some more books that I really wanted to get to this year and just haven't had the opportunity. And it is The Heart's Invisible Furies by John Boyne. This is, as far as I remember, the synopsis of this is a kind of a historical book with a guy who lives in Ireland. I think it might be Ireland. Yeah, it's a rural Irish community. And I believe that during this time, because it is historical, he is actually gay, and I think there's a lot of persecution, and I don't really know much past that. I know this is a very emotional read. I know that this is a very powerful read. This is actually Book of the Year for 2017 for the Book of the Month Club, and I've heard nothing but amazing things about this book. It is kind of a chunker. It is a pretty big book. But I have been wanting to get to this book forever now, so I'm hoping that I will be able to do this, because with everything going on in the world right now, my reading has not been the best. I have been struggling to read, so I'm hoping this readathon will get me right back on track where I need to be to start reading a lot of the books that I had on my list for the ones that I wanted to get to in 2020. Next book that is on this is Astronomy, and basically what you do for this one is read the majority of a book at night. So I like to read all sorts of hours of the day, so I wanted to pick something short so I wasn't confined to having to read something purely at night. So I actually picked Volume 3 of My Hero Academia. This is a manga graphic novel, and basically like there is this world like where these people, like the most, like about 50, like over 50% of the population has abilities. Each one has an ability, and the main character, he was born without one, and then he kind of meets somebody who ends up giving him part of his ability, and he's not really equipped to that. So every time he tries to use his super strength, he ends up breaking something. It's kind of like a very interesting like approach to being a superhero, having the heart and the ability, but maybe not necessarily the stamina. So I'm really excited to be continuing on with this. I actually read the first two last July and I really enjoyed them, and I'm finally going to be able to get around to this. I didn't want all big books on this TBR because like I just feel so much more confident like if I can breeze through a few books like during the course of a month, and this is one I'm going to definitely be able to breeze through. So the next prompt is Care of Magical Creatures. The prompt is actually hippogriffs, so I have to pick a book with creatures that have beaks on the cover. So for this, I actually picked Dear Edward. There is birds all over this beautiful cover. And this is a book about a person like that is on a plane, and he meets like a lot of people on the plane, and the plane crashes, and he's actually one of the few survivors, and it's like a kind of a, from what I remember, a book about self-discovery and, you know, kind of like learning about yourself and learning who you are. So I'm really excited for this. This has actually gotten a lot of really good reviews also. So for the next prompt, it's Charms, which is Lumos Maxima, which is a white cover. I actually ended up picking the Shadows Between Us because I've really been wanting to get to that, and actually there's white writing on back. So there's really like not like a lot of white on here. Most of it's just silver, but there is white writing on the back, and I'm totally counting that because I really wanted to get to this one. This is a standalone fantasy about a girl who is kind of like trying to get the upper hand like with the Shadow King, and she kind of ends up falling in love with him. It's a hate to love romance, and I am so excited because like this is actually like one of my most anticipated releases. I believe it was from from sometime towards the beginning of the year. Like I'm so scrambled like with dates like right now. So I'm really excited for this as well. This was definitely like another like one that I'm really looking forward to. The next book that I really want to read is for Defense Against the Dark Arts, and it's going to be Grindylows, which is, you have to pick a book like that has like some sort of like sea setting to it. So for that, I actually picked After the Flood by Cassandra Montang. This was a book that I heard Bow Ties and Books talking about. I really just got hooked on it after I heard about what this whole thing is about. So this, when I read the synopsis, it kind of reminded me a little bit of Waterworld with Kevin Costner, because it kind of had a dystopian style feel to it. This takes place like after there was a giant flood, and a lot of these civilizations have had to flee to higher altitudes up in the mountains, and it sounded like they were still surrounded by water. So I figured that this would be like the perfect time to also dig into this, because this is definitely like another one that was very on the top of my list as far as books that I really wanted to get to shortly. So for the next thing that I'm going to be reading for the Magical Readathon, I am predicting a book, and I can see it now, a book that I really want to get to. It's not a numbered book, and I predict I will read The Lovely War. That is my prediction. You're supposed to assign your TBR number, but honestly, like, I have a really large physical TBR, and assigning a number just wasn't kind of like realistic to it. So I just made a prediction that I was going to read this, and I'm going to. So this is really kind of an interesting premise. It's kind of a historical fiction with a edge of mythology to it, and the edge of mythology kind of takes place like with Aphrodite being the narrator to this book. And it's about the transient power of love during wartime. And it follows 4 different characters. It's about the majority of it that I know, but that was pretty much all I needed to hear. And the fact that Aphrodite is the one who is narrating this really kind of puts a unique and very different twist on a book like that I've just been very interested in reading. I've heard a lot of buzz about this very recently here in the booktube community. A lot of people have read this and have absolutely adored it, so I'm just so excited to see what all the buzz is about. So the next book that I was going to read for the prompt is Herbology. So for this I have to read a book that starts with I. This is I actually ended up doing another book that I have had on my TBR forever, and it's still, from time to time, I still see people like still reading and reviewing it and still really just loving it. And actually just the other day on Goodreads I saw somebody just talking about this book again, and I'm like, well, I have to read this. So it's actually If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio, and I heard that if you really enjoy Shakespeare, you're going to really love this. This is about a guy who, I guess like there's some sort of murder. I think he just gets out of prison. I'm not a huge fan of reading synopses, especially if I get really close to the time that I'm going to be reading it. But all I know is like that a lot of people have really seemed to enjoy this, and I'm really hoping for that same level of enjoyment. So the next prompt is History of Magic. Witch Hunts. We read a book with a witch or wizard in the book. So this is another book. This I've actually been doing a lot better like for my yearly goals with the series that I want to read, and so for this I decided to pick up The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. The majority of the main characters like themselves may have some magical abilities, but they don't really consider themselves wizards. But when I was reading the synopsis, there is a wizard in this, and this is kind of a really dark adult fantasy. It's grimdark. There is a lot of like really like kind of very dark aspects to this. Like one of the main characters is a torturer. Like I actually already started reading this because it's, you know, like the day of, so I'm about 80 pages into this so far, and it's actually just very dark, and I am kind of like, okay, well, yeah, I kind of like this dark guy. He's very good at torturing people. Yeah, okay, so my favorite person in this so far is into torture. Let's move on to the next subject because yeah, that's pretty much what we're doing with that. Oop, and the books are about to fall. So the next prompt is Muggle Studies. Book from perspective of Muggle, which is basically just a contemporary. For this I'm going to be reading Depraved by Bella J. This is a dark romance book. I wanted to kind of mix things up a little bit because I do read a wide variety of books, and I decided that I wanted to get to a darker romance. I really love dark romances because I just feel like there's so much more depth to them. I've read a few like light romances that I found depth in also, but it seems like the emotional dynamics of people in books who have had a dark past or like have had a real struggle seem to be like a little bit deeper for me, and I kind of relate to those a lot more than I do like just a really lighthearted romances. So the next prompt is Potions, which is drinking solution. Read a book that's 150 pages or less. So for that I decided to pick The World's Last Night by C.S. Lewis. This is actually a collection of short stories. C.S. Lewis is a Christian writer. I haven't read a ton of stuff. He is also the author of Narnia. Like I said, I haven't read a ton of his stuff, but I feel like this is going to be very easy to get through. Like I said, I really wanted just a few really easy books to get through. The last book is Transfigurations. For this, I have to pick a book with shape-shifting. So I actually started reading this earlier also because I am filming this on April 1st. I am very late to the game in this, but I really wanted to get this TBR out because I'm so excited for it. The monstress herself, she is a shapeshifter because she has a ancient being inside of her, and so sometimes she the ancient being kind of takes over and she shifts into that. I felt like this was the perfect graphic novel to really kind of get into that. I've had this on my TBR since Christmas. My parents got this for me because it was on my Christmas list, and I love this series. This is by far and above my favorite graphic novel series, and I am really upset because I just looked up volume 5 and it won't be out until September. So I've got quite a wait for that, but that's fine. This is an adult graphic novel, and it is a mix of horror and fantasy. And I love the artwork is gorgeous. The storyline's so thick and luscious for a graphic novel, and it's just amazing. I can't like recommend this enough. Like it's just so filled with depth, and it's really dark. I'm not going to sugarcoat that for you at all, but like it is really dark, but I love this so much. And I'm so thriving. Like right now I've actually started it this evening and I'm already over halfway done. I think I have like 2 chapters left and then I'm gonna be done with it. I'm so sad because like I just want more of this. But that's what I'm going to be reading for shapeshifting. So I picked quite a few books in the month of April to read for the Magical Readathon, but I am just so excited because like I just feel like this is going to be such a great reading month. I have so many books that have been on my TBR for a little bit that I'm going to finally be able to get to. I have ones like that I haven't been on my TBR like that long that I'm really excited about that I'm finally going to be able to get to. I'm still like, you know, moving towards my goals for like the books that I want to read for the month. So like I feel like this readathon is going to help me tackle a lot of little things that I've really been wanting to do. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys like this video, hit the little like, hit subscribe, hit the little bell icon if you guys want to receive emails every single time I post. I am also on Instagram, Twitter, Amazon, and Goodreads. Those links are linked in the description below. And if you guys ever want to chat or like, you know, like talk to me or whatever, come by, like talk to me or whatever. I am now playing Animal Farm, by the way. You can look me up on Twitter, and like if you guys like want to do Animal Farm together. Why did I say Animal Farm? It's a book. I meant Animal Crossing. But if you guys want to play Animal Crossing, if you guys like, we can visit each other's islands. I'm still kind of starting out, but like I'm just so excited because like I've really been enjoying Animal Crossing. It's been just the right amount like distraction for everything that's going on. It's very relaxing. So if you guys play it, let me know. You can track me down on Twitter and I will give you guys my friend code. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you guys again very soon.